Welcome back, audience. Hope you're doing good, as always. And in this video, I want to talk about something that I've discovered and true meaning of not biting into an apple. The true meaning of biting into an apple. An apple, of course, symbolizes the toroidal field. Biting into an apple symbolizes you breaking the principle of reciprocation and infinity, because toroidal field is self-reciprocating. And when you break it, you have to force it, and you're trying to get a success in life through forced means. Okay? So this is why I'm not impressed by this success, external success, when people have a lot of success but they're empty inside. Not impressed. This is just, they just sold their soul to get success. It's not the real success. So I'm sorry, but I'm not impressed by that. Also, conversely, I'm not impressed by people who renounced the life and just became kind of guru-ish or monkey-ish, or those people who just don't participate and they don't create much. They just be. Also not impressed by that at all. They may be super happy, but they're not doing anything with that. They're not creating. So they just basically still not on the Tao or the flow of life. It's still not there. It has to be a meaningful creation of success and tangible results. That's what my definition of a truly fulfilling life is. There has to be tangible results and success in what you do, created through meaning, that you have enjoyed the entire time, the entire journey, and the results. That is authentic success. And it's super rare. I don't know a lot of people who live like that. They're always some sort of pushing too much on one side or pushing too much on the other side. And I don't know why can't people just reconcile those differences and live in this liminal space. I know why, because it's not easy. And why is it not easy is because where we're at, it's the entire reality is conditioned. So it requires a lot of attention, a lot of withdrawal of energy from the matrix, from addictions, and it's not easy. However, once that calibration is mastered, then the life is effortless. This is a more accurate way of saying, because sometimes people say, well, life's supposed to be effortless, and they start with that, and these people say like, well, I'm just gonna surrender and just keep going, whatever, effortless. You're saying it's supposed to be effortless. That's a very bad idea to listen to that. By the way, most of these people are financed. Anybody who is spewing belief systems in you or one-sided truth, they usually are financed by some questionable organization. It's unbelievable how important it is for these people to spend like incredible large sums of money so it could keep the people's minds poisoned with beliefs. It's unbelievable. Like ultimately, that's essentially where these people who spend the money. If they could do anything they want with their life and they could have complete total freedom, then they would make sure that everybody is asleep. somehow their freedom depends on everybody else being in the constant stress and suffering. And so, of course, that's the Luciferian way. And energetically, that is the way to survive for the evil. That's why they're spending so much money on this. And notice that, man. Like, even when you're watching like YouTube or even right now, like, I don't know, like I'm being so selective, and then still some information seeps through that I'm like, okay, this is a clear plant. You can feel it. The person is not coming through their authenticity, but it's through the mask. And as soon as I sense that, I'm like, okay, this is a clown. Goodbye. Not a shred of my attention. Okay, so let's just go into this toroidal field and reciprocating toroidal field and living through without biting into an apple. Now, biting into an apple, it's not some historical event, of course. This is a state of consciousness. It is a choice that you make within your consciousness every time you submit yourself to an addiction or coercion or blackmailing or some pressure, matrix pressure, to sell your soul, and you break that infinite flow. Okay? Now, that infinite flow, not only it's valuable because it gives you this peace and bliss within yourself, it's also apparently a fuel for the genuine creation of anything that you want. Right? It is a type of light passion, as I call it. And you gain that light passion by withdrawing your attention from the dark passion, because it's always going to be like this. Like, you're going to be tempted and you're going to say, no, it's not me anymore. I'm not doing this. Okay, fine. The challenge comes along, you welcomize it, and sure enough, there's all this blissful energy is filling you up because you took that energy from the matrix. And then you're going through life, everything's okay, fine, and then you find yourself slipping in again. And I'm like, what the fuck? How the fuck did I end up here again? You know? And you say, well, why did I end up here again? Okay, there's one thing, there's one habit that must go because it's not compatible with this level of genuine passion within me. That habit cannot be with me anymore because it's the doorway into the dark passion and the slippery slope. And that habit must go. And personally speaking, that habit for me is weed. Even though I don't smoke a lot, just on the weekends, I don't anymore receive any kind of benefit from it. And I'm questioning, it's like, why did I smoke then? Because it's not really doing much for me anymore. But it is does affect my brain. It does affect my coordination. It does affect all these other things that are not really useful to me. So, and of course, that makes me more vulnerable to slip into all sorts of temptations, of the matrix. And so I've noticed that it's sort of like a doorway. If I don't smoke, everything's fine. If I smoke, I become vulnerable. And I used to get some benefit from it, but I don't anymore. And so I have to admit that it has to go. And to me right now, like, I'm not denying the usefulness of the plant. I'm just saying that I've exhausted that and it's turning on me, and I should say goodbye before it starts turning on me, So there's that type of liminality. You get what is appropriate, but you don't bite into an apple. You don't push it beyond it. You stay in that liminal. You get the use of it. Everything has its right place in life. At one point in my life, it just completely um, opened my eyes and allowed me to see what life could be. But now it's up to me. It has to be up to me, not up to that weed anymore. But it did play a huge role. Um, but not anymore. And the way I see it right now is that to me, weed is supposed to be, in this point in my life, is to smoke whenever there is a major achievement and celebration and a very strong support system around you, and you're not in a ditches fighting, you see, because that's, of course, that's the worst time to smoke. And when there's that moment and there's friends around you, sure, you can share the pipe with your friends when everything is celebration. When you're back in the Shire, then you can pull out some weed again, but not right now. Um, so going back to this biting into this apple, okay, I just want to communicate something that I found to be real, to be, if you get this, then you get the principle of life. This is why there's such a big hassle about that apple, because figuring out what it really means and all these other stories and what's it like, these are all just interpretations, and it's not what really is going on. It is referring to a specific um, approach with your consciousness. It's so difficult to explain because it is a state that you must be calibrating yourself to, and every possible scenario in your life, there is always this approach to go into the whole apple. And it appears that you can try to bite into it or distort it like from within. So, okay, let me try to explain that, but perhaps you get it. Okay. So, everything in life that you do, and that's just a way not to get caught into the matrix, but use the matrix for your advantage, and never get caught in it, like be immune. And it's like this: deal with the most superficial layer of reality, at the most superficial layer of reality. Don't push it beyond it. Don't bite into an apple. If you're speaking with somebody on a superficial layer and that's just like a social mask, right? And you're interacting then on that social mask level, but there's deeper. If you could just go there and start drilling the person, you would trigger the person, right? Or you would trigger a situation, or you escalate something, right? If you just lean in, and the person's energy may try to freaking make you bite an apple, try to make you lean in, so you don't. You stay on a superficial layer, but that is not enough. You also go into the deepest possible layer. The deepest possible layer, this is this internal toroidal energy, where your energy is flowing at the deepest possible layer. So there's a penetration happening, and then there's the hug happening. And so that is the approach to everything that you do in life. And that is pretty much like, if you're any kind of environment dealing with any kind of person, you will always find that deepest point, and that's alchemy. Okay. And I'm those calibration principles of alchemy. So basically, everywhere you go, everything you do, you are alchemizing, always calibrating. So you're touching it at the deepest. There is no resistance there. Okay, you're free to do that thing. No one's gonna resist you. At the same time, no one's gonna resist you running the energy on a superficial layer too, because that's not triggering at all. So everybody will be almost um, at peace and feeling good in your presence if you're capable of doing that. That's not to say that is easy, because it's always going to be try to get you in this way or through that way, to internally to get that fire going crazy, or externally with your actions you're engaging too much. Okay. So don't go too deep into it, right? Like when you're alchemizing, you know exactly how to do, but if you go a little bit too deep, then the burning starts. And this way as well, it's a very superficial type of energy. And this way you can be with everybody, and no matter what kind of, you know, mental concerns these people have, or emotional, they're all going to be sort of evened out in the presence of this reciprocating toroidal field. And that's pretty much the challenge. The error that I was making, I was digging into this, like, right, like for example, I would see that a person is not genuine, so I would just bring that up and trigger the crap out of them. You know, that is not how to deal with it. You keep on a superficial layer, you don't trigger them on that sense, and you alchemize everything from within. So that's the way to be in the world, but not of the world, in that liminal space. You're not abandoning the superficial layer of reality. You're always in touch with it and super, like, you know, engage and focus with it. Superficial layer of reality is very important, and whatever you try to create in, you know, physical world, and you interact with it and you engage with it, and sometimes people go, oh, it's just material. Material or not, in the end, matter is what you're interacting with in the end. So it's not a problem to have a lot of material success. In fact, you should be having a lot of material success, of course, without any kind of attachment. But you should have a lot of, you should have created a lot of wealth, a lot of cool stuff, you know. And I shouldn't say should have, but you probably should. What I'm saying is that don't disengage through the superficial layer of reality. Stay close to it, but don't push too deep, right? And if you see that there's a way to adjust this somehow, that you can change, because you can see, okay, this is functioning like this. Why is it functioning like this? Oh, it's because the law and regulation on some policy. Okay, can you change that? And if you say, well, maybe I can change that, then you put all the energy there, remaining dealing on superficial layer and alchemizing the energies. It is a type of liminality that I was talking about throughout entire consciousness, throughout, you know, it is very powerful state, because it's such a effective. It is very effective. It is not as, you know, wastage of energy. It is very, very effective. I know that what I'm saying probably may not land that well, but I hope it does. But just notice everything that you've done in your life. Now I'm reflecting on everything that's happened in the past few years, or maybe even longer, and I'm just looking at, like, okay, what have I learned from all of this? And I have to say this one particular principle: if you, not to commit a sin, biting of an apple, which is giving into the temptation of the matrix or taunting of the matrix. It requires you to be an alchemist, alchemize the energies from within, because otherwise you won't be able to keep your shit together, and still interacting on a superficial layer on very calm, smooth, and untriggering way. You see? And so when energy is streaming from both sides, from like this within and out, then there's effectiveness there. You can be effective with that person. That person may even like relax and say things that you may want to hear them say without force, right? So you're not trying to change their mind, just you're trying to put them in the right state of mind where that realization is there already. And you're not even trying to put them in the right state of mind. By you approaching life correctly and understanding that liminality, how to interact superficially in the most effective way, and how to interact the most profoundly in the most effective way. That is what it's all about. And there's the same principle in alchemy, same principle in theurgy, same principle in thaumaturgy, and same principle in physiurgy. It is unbelievable to me. I know that that's the only way to, you know, because I could feel that like this taunting of the matrix and trying to be pulled in and trying to go in and correct something. It's like where the just energy is just wasted. It just takes your energy. Like it's just a slight annoyance about something. It's already leaking energy, and that may lead to rage. And if you look at it, it's like, why is it happening? And you'll notice that you're putting your nose where it does not belong and trying to correct something that does not concern you, where you don't have actually the influence to correct. There's somewhere else where you may have the influence to correct. It may take time, and and it's kind of bigger scale, but you could have some influence on that. An immediate influence you will have if you don't put your energy where it does not belong. So then nobody's going to get triggered. Everybody's going to be calm around you because you're not pushing in there energetically. See, and you're giving that smooth energy on a superficial layer, so nobody is triggered. And at the same time, this profound stream of energy. So there's this apple that is whole and not bitten into. I think Mac used the apple that has been bitten into, which is quite interesting. But that's the approach. You can't be just superficial. That's not going to work. Because if you're just superficial and you're just not politically correct, but untriggering with everybody, right? Just like, then that's not going to work because you're not really affecting anything on a fundamental level. However, if everything is peaceful and quiet on a superficial level because you're not triggering anybody, then you have all this energy to alchemize at a deeper level, which actually makes the change. That's what makes the change, guys. It may take time, but you will see the change, and people will stop chasing their beliefs and defending their beliefs and ideas so strongly and willing to die for it, and realize it's all just a distraction, and it's just the program that's been installed into them. And I wish it wasn't the case, and I wish we didn't have to be in this position where only this ultimate principle of reciprocating toroidal field would be the only approach that could keep up with what the fuck is going on in the world. But it is so. But it is effective. I'm telling you something that is effective, okay? It is very, very effective. Alchemizing the energies and interacting on a superficial layer with everybody. Right? If you go through, like, for example, the airport and whatnot, and there's just too much of security there, and you go like, oh my god, this is just so unnecessary, this is all just to humiliate us and all that stuff. Like, if you go into this, well, you're biting into an apple, and you know, you don't have any kind of control over there, so you just have to interact on the superficial layer without putting your energy in anything deeper beyond this. And the more into these stressful places where everybody is functioning on anxiety, the more you have to be willing to be in that very thin layer. And what I'm saying here, to make it practical, just approach everything with this, listening. That will allow you to be in that expansive toroidal field, and at the same time feeling the deepest point of the energy there and allowing it to unravel the way it wants. So basically, you're always in this toroidal field of energy. Whatever you do, wherever you go, it's the most effective approach to life. And now we gotta put it to the test, It really, it surprisingly retires you from any kind of annoyance with anything. At the same time, you are not like a nihilistic, because you know that there's something deep inside you're making a change that is real. So sometimes it's completely giving up on life, that's nihilism, or going out there and just fighting over the belief that you don't have no idea if it's even true. That's another way, just being way too maniac about life or being nihilistic about life. But there's in between that, where you are grabbing the nucleus of life and you holding on to it, not like you not letting it go, that center that is supposed to be you, that ego is trying to come up. You're always alchemizing that thing, the ego, not your ego, the ego. And the superficial layer, you're very smooth and accommodating, not going too deep, okay? And it is it's a quite compassionate way of being in the world. But it also, have to say, it doesn't matter what people tell you. They could be insulting you, but if you this type of approach, you're always almost like a guest, and everybody's going to treat you like a guest, because you're never going to be going into the mess where they're at. So that they would automatically you go, and I think that's the best approach. Like, I think, of course, Jesus said, like, I'm in the world but not of the world, and that is one of the things that would allow you to experience that, to being in the world but not of the world. And so it's always kind of fun to be a guest in a foreign country. For example, you come in and everybody's so accommodating, and so it's like, and they show you the best side, and that's fantastic, that's great, right? But if you just overstay your welcome, and you go a little bit deeper and you see things, and you all these messy things to start to see, And then you think like, well, the people are not really that friendly, they're like that. Well, if you just meet them on that superficial level as a guest, they are friendly and they will try to please you, and and show their best place, their best side. Okay, fine. I don't mind with that. And on the deepest level, the change that you're doing through the alchemy is the most that you can do. So you don't even worry about that either. So you end up being kind of like a guest in the world, not just in the country. Okay? Some time ago, I heard this phrase. Somebody says, "Do not get involved in human affairs," and it stuck with me. And only now I'm kind of fully realize it's not easy not to get involved in human affairs. But that's the best way. It's you are the best help for the human affairs of getting better, and your life is very functional, and you seem to be neutral in all possible situations, and seem to not have any kind of enemies. That's how you retain genuine neutrality without needing to bribe anybody for that neutrality. And I decided to take this position because we're all looking for the place in the world. Like, where is my place? Where is all that place? And I'm realizing that that's my place. That's like energetically to be in that reciprocating throttle field, in that apple, that whole apple, and don't bite into an apple. There's only one rule. But when there's a rule, it's like, there's not to bite into an apple. Now, because I can't do it, now I want to do it. And all right, go ahead, bite into an apple. See what that brings you. Don't bite into an apple. And so that means, for example, if you are connecting with somebody, you can connect over genuinely without triggering each other. There's a way. Okay? There's a way to have your souls communicating, and our belief systems basically melting, you know? And the art of real communication is like this. It is trying to connect, trying to overlap like one toroidal field with another, but without creating any kind of crashes. And it's an art. But the depth arises just by you being in that liminal space. You know? There's a way to move in this world that is the most, efficient way, and it gives you a lot of success in life and a lot of meaning. And I say this after, so much trial and error and so much hassle and so many things crashing on me, you know? Honestly, I'm exhausted from all this trial and error. And there is no answer in biting an apple. This is definitely not the way to go. And I don't want any kind of success unless it came from the joy. I came from enjoyment. And honestly, I also have to say that um, I got spaced out a little bit. I think because I was just like, you see, everything you do when you speak, even that energy is also kind of signaling you that like, oh, you're kind of going off the line right now, and you go back into it. What I was trying to say that I'm still learning. Um, I know that mind is very powerful in determining the physical reality. Uh, that it's supposed to be done through mind. Everything, even if you need to do a task, you first imagine in your mind. Then it's so much easier to do it. So even if it's like creating something that is quite, you can see this easily, it's like, okay, yeah, I can imagine myself going there doing this, and that will be done. That's already a manifestation, right? And then you imagine, what can you imagine more? Like, well, I can imagine me doing this, and this, that this is kind of possible. Okay, cool. So keep using your mind on imagining the things that you have to do, and things that make sense for you to do right now, um, and to to have that success, whatever you want. You're still using your mind. So this is where you come like, yeah, of course. If I imagine myself doing this task and then doing it, then that will definitely get the shit done. All right, cool. Then another side of the mind is the outcome, not the practical means to it, but the outcome itself. And with that, there may be a problem. It's like, well, I can't imagine the outcome because I cannot see the bridge of incidents of how it could lead to that. That is where you go and you take the leap of faith, and you just say that if just the fact that I'm enjoying the image of the outcome um, is the best chance of me, of my mind, to start looking for that to be an outcome. You know, it is basically, you are saying, if your mind is a dog and you give it an image and say, okay, or like a smell, right? Like say, find this person, and you give it like a handkerchief that belongs to the person and say, okay, find this person. And a dog's looking for that person. It's a little bit like that. It's a little bit like smelling your way to the outcome and creating this bridge of incidents to that outcome. Now, this one is quite um, tricky because you cannot like really empirically study. It's like the only thing that I can tell about this is that there were so many occasions in my life where I was imagining this, even if I was just doing the practice, and then I end up being in this type of situation just because I've been imagining this. Um, I had to say that, okay, I can see that there is an effect. I cannot deny that there is no effect. The logical mind will come in and say, well, that's just a coincidence. But when it happens over and over, significantly over, you know, numerous times, you say, okay, this is statistically significant now. This There must be some effect there. It doesn't matter how, whether I attracted it because I imagined this, because then that's how I attracted, or because I imagined it, my mind kind of figured out the way subconsciously of how to get there. Whether you believe into this more magical component to it or more practical component to it, without a doubt, it works. People who visualize in art, in science, and martial arts, they all have a lot of success. It works. I think people call it like activating reticular system or something, where it's just searching for that outcome. Um, I subscribe more into this to this generative reality where it's just like all holographic. I subscribe to this more view, but whether you're a more practical person or more holographic, it doesn't matter really. It's just the only thing that the perspective is not yet mature to the holographic perspective. And but it does not mean that it doesn't work. You still have to use your mind to create anything you want in life. And there's one thing I want to say, that um, the use of mind into creating success in the physical world, of course, is essential, but um, I don't yet see that much of a connection between the internal feelings, and because I have been experiencing beautiful states of consciousness with no matter what is in front of me, but I don't see this as directly linking to the physical outcomes of what I see in the world. Like, I do see some like global changes and things like that, but it's very hard to kind of link that up and say like, well, it's because of the alchemy that's happening. It may be so. I don't know. You know, I would like it to be so, but I cannot also be stupid, and just say that, oh, there's definitely a correlation there. There may be a correlation there. And it appears to me that the use of mind is still necessary, and without it, those tangible things that you want in the world may not even appear, just because you're in a state of joy. It might be that that state of joy is just for the meaning, and if you don't use your mind to create the things that you want, it's not going to be created. So you have to use all faculties of consciousness for this full holistic life. That's what I have to say. So don't bite into an apple, and if you do not commit a sin, life could be pretty gangster. It's not meek life, where you just kind of monk, and it's like, well, that person is renounced the world, and so now the person is kind of happy. No, you don't renounce the world, but you don't also get lost in it. That's where you want to be. But it's not easy to stay in the world and be effective and still accomplish things that you want to accomplish without selling your soul. After all, that is the challenge of life. And I really think that once you get it, I don't think you can come back to it, because it has such an elegance to it, such a grace, and it works. And even a person, if it's trying to pull the strings on you and try to get you into this dark passion matrix drama, that compassion, that state of still dealing with it, not ignoring the person on a superficial level, you're still dealing with it on a superficial level, and people feel the softness there, and they throw something that is sharp, and they feel something soft returning, and so eventually they stop throwing these sharp things. It works. So when it comes to relationships, interacting with other people, you become more functional. That's guaranteed. Even if you don't subscribe to this idea of, you create the world with your feelings and whatnot, and the feeling is the secret and all these other things. Even if you don't subscribe to it, you will see the direct effect of your state of consciousness in relationship to others. It becomes more functional, more effective. So it's even worth for the practical means. And then once in a while, you do see a kind of miracle happening. So there. And that's it. This is, I mean, honestly, there's nothing beyond this anymore. There's nothing beyond this. It's just implementing this into life. And taking it for a spin. And I want to see what that will bring. Because I was exhausted of trying to deal with life in a conventional way, and I just had to say like, oh no, no, it cannot be this way. I have to find something that it actually is functional and working in, and is the right approach. And you do end up being in a certain type of dimension, but that dimension is compatible with all the other dimensions. That's the thing about this, right? It is not in contradiction with anything else. It is this beautiful dimension. Immune to all these other dimensions who are trying to suck you in. Really, in the end of the game, is about energy and not leaking the energy towards the dark passion. That is all there is. Building up that light passion as much as possible, using it to create. That is how you play this game. And I don't know how many of us are necessary of us playing this game consistently. Um, and you can have great results in any field that you choose to be in. And leave the best effect on the world too. But I don't know how many of us are necessary for the entire system to start changing as well. So that how you fight the system without the system even recognizing why there's no energy anymore for the system to sustain. There's a Rick and Morty episode that just came out, season 9, episode 7. Watch that. It is it is very appropriate. You got to cut off the energy supply to evil. And evil starts dying. You don't have to fight it. Just cut off the energy supply. And then just a little kind of, and it's done. Okay, guys. I think I'm going to leave it here. Hopefully, makes sense. Just don't bite into an apple, and everything's going to be alright. Peace, and I'll see you in the next one.